In order, roll call please.
Chair Alaska?
Yeah.
Chair Alaska?
Here.
Director Shirley?
Yeah, I'm here.
Director Pete?
Here.
We have a forum.
Thank you. Anyone in the public want to speak? Go public here. Any public online? Or drops? Seeing none. Proposed action items, discuss Keith Day, wrong values. Keith Day composting permit.
Thank you, Chair. At this time, I'd like to just introduce this item, Keep Day composting permit, is that we're still actively working on moving the permit over from one entity into the other. And at this point, we have Guy Pettipore, he's gonna go through a slide deck on the composting permit, where we're at, and what is remaining left for the transaction to happen. Thank you. Guy?
Yes, good morning, all. Can you hear my audio well?
Yes.
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 Great, great. So, the Keith Day permit transition is in progress. And the CEQA evaluation of the action, which is a modification of the existing permit to transfer the owner designation from the Keith Day Company to MRWMD, ReGen Monterey. That activity does not constitute a significant action relative to CEQA items, and it's been determined by the Denise Duffy and Associates, who did the CEQA review, that it's the permit modification is an exempt from the CEQA applicability at this time. And we will bring that action to the board, most likely at the January board meeting. And if not, it'll be at the February board meeting. As an overview, the transfer of ownership of the permit to ReGen will be associated with a reciprocal action of changing the lease agreement. And that's a discussion of between the two parties. It's being proposed for the board to review and consider. There is no other compensation associated with that modification of ownership. This I trust you can see the screen with the table shown.
Yeah.
And this is a comparison of some of the more significant terms of a agreement. The middle column there is from the current operations lease, and the rightmost column is what's proposed in the future operations lease, with ReGen as the permit owner and Keith Day Company remaining as the permit operator. The text in red is showing the differences between the two. The exception there is on the term. The base term currently is a 2-year term. And the backstory there is that came to be in 2021. Between 2009 and 2021, it was a reoccurring annual agreement. So it was quite a length of service there from Keith Day until that point. And to recognize the ownership change, there's a proposal to define a 15-year base term and provide a circumstance where the operator can make the additional investments in their role, that are separate from ReGen's investments. We're also proposing to add a notice to cure term, which would be a condition where ReGen identifies some deficiency either in the performance of the operating lease or relative to a regulatory aspect, that there be a provision to allow us, ReGen, to provide notice to Keith Day and define an element that needs to be improved or corrected, and provide a term period within which to correct that issue, being no more than 12 months in length. And then in addition to that, we are proposing to add a contract termination clause. This would be in the event of a significant default or inability for the two parties to come to an agreement over a particular issue, and one party who could give notice to the other party of a desire to terminate the contract. Currently, considering a 2-year minimum period of a notice, but that is something we can discuss here today. There will be a written operation lease agreement. Potentially get that to you for the January Finance Committee meeting. And if it's not accomplished by then, it'll be no later than the February Finance Committee meeting. So the Finance Committee would get the first look at the written agreement, and then depending on feedback from the Finance Committee, the topic would either go to the next board meeting or be referred to the next Finance Committee meeting. So that's an overview of the circumstances, and open it up for questions and answers or discussion by the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Guy. I had a question. The timeline for transferring the compost permit and then working on the lease agreement, are those in parallel and within the same time frame? Or are we working on this lease agreement first and then eventually we'll be able to transfer the compost permit?
So they are being worked on in the same time, but the ability to complete is different. The board, the board directors have the ability to accomplish their actions at an earlier time frame. The permit ownership change is going to be at least 60 days, so it's going to end up going into March when that change gets made.
And then, but then as a board, we'll be able to work on the lease agreement, you said January, February?
Right. Ideally, the lease agreement would change first or at the same time as the ownership change. It does have a little precedence over the ownership change relative to our operator.
Is there any concerns from, you guys on whether we completed the task to get the agreement completed before we get the permit piece, or
No,
is there a preference to just wait until we're ready to kind of execute on the permit and then bring it to board and approve right before it?
do we have any question about whether that permit's gonna have any problem?
It is an administrative request. The two state agencies that are involved, the Cal Recycle with the LEA, Monterey County Environmental Health, and then separately the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. Our discussions with both staff indicate that they concur with the findings of it being exempt from CEQA, and that they both view it as no significant change to the permit terms and conditions, and thus they feel it's they both can act as an administrative matter.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Number one, when the license is, or when the permit is, in our hands, is there a termination or is there an end date? Does it have to be renewed from time to time, or what are the conditions?
It is, yes, there is a 5-year review process. And for the permit in whole. And the existing permit remains active and in play until replaced by the subsequent issued permit. So the permit remains active, unless it is specifically canceled. And, that would require some significant default in operations and compliance for that to happen. So bottom line is it's a permit that will stay active even during the 5-year review process. Should that process go beyond 5 years, the existing permit remains active until an action occurs.
Is there a, when we renew the permit or get the permit or whatever, is there a cost to the district, to the state, in exchange for getting the permit renewal?
They're minor permit fees in the hundreds of dollars. Not much.
Okay. Yeah, I have two more questions. One is there any compensation relative to the permit being going from Keith State to us? Is there any kind of compensation that Keith State is expected to get based upon this either way?
Only not monetarily. The compensation that Keith Day is expecting is the term of the agreement. He was looking for a 15 or 20-year term, and our staff and committee prior discussions that indicated that the staff and committees members were comfortable with a 15-year base term.
Okay, so nothing associated with the license, and as far as the modification of Keith Day's lease, there's
That's correct.
no compensation associated with that other than just getting a longer term.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's business security for for Keith Day. You know, he's not been comfortable with the annual renewals approach, because he doesn't know if he's in business next year.
I understand. Okay, thank you, guys. Any other questions?
Actually, I do have a question. I just total ignorance, obviously. Yeah, the district property here at Selden Key,
Excuse me?
the property that we're on is held by the district in fee.
Yes.
Yes, this is district property that Keith Day is currently leasing from the district. And it's referenced in the permit itself as well.
So Guy, do we think we can get this completed for our January board meeting? I really would like to keep our February board meeting from compiling more items, because we do want to have the workshop to cover items with some of the new board members that will be coming on board. So if the committee is willing to get it, if you guys can have it in your hands by that board meeting to make a decision, I think would just allow us to continue to move forward and wait for that 60-day process. If 60 days is 30, we can execute sooner, as soon as the agency is ready to do so.
Okay. No, I understand. The workshop for February is gonna be consume a lot of the.
We're gonna ask for a little bit more time. Yeah, we're gonna ask for a little bit more time in that month.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of work to put this thing together and get it going, and a lot of doors you have to knock on and you couldn't have it, especially for you, state of California. Okay. Very good. White paper. Discuss white paper.
At this time, we're gonna share another presentation. You know, white paper is near completion. One of the reasons why we wanted to conduct this meeting today was to keep these two items moving and allow staff to continue to work on it during the holiday period, where we're a little bit slower administratively, and we can go out and do a little bit more, get it done at work. So this is another item that's been due for the board. I think we've been talking about it. We've been expecting it. It comes at a good time. We're getting some additional board members. I think we initially took the general landscape of how we do business in the state of California. We've narrowed that down to how we do business here in Monterey County, and a variation of different periods in time where the board took decisions, where you can see the economics take the sway and change to see where we're at currently financially and operationally with our organization. I think you know, I give Guy a lot of attributes for building that timeline, because it did take some digging and trying to develop the history around how did we get here? How did we get those external tons? Why were the decisions made? Where were some of the big levers that we maneuvered to get to our current state? So I'm pretty excited about getting the draft paper completed into a final form where we can distribute, approve, and then use that as our basis of discussion when dealing with our constituents or with one another or other local officials that may have questions of why and how come. And I think us delivering the same message across the enterprise will benefit everybody in that discussion if and when they take place. Guy?
Sure. So the committee's actually seen most of this presentation before. I'm going to go through it rather quickly, and the intent of maybe having more committee discussion. So feel free to stop me at any time and have that discussion in progress. The overview is that there's really two main segments that will have a third section to introduce the two. And, you know, high level scope is a summary of the solid waste practices in California. And then separately, a summary of solid waste practices at the district. And it's not a full history of the district, but it does go back to the early 2000s. And I might note there's kind of a bookend present here today, as this is Director Laska's last official finance committee meeting. And the related aspect for this topic in the white paper occurred while Leo was a chair of the board and was instrumental in having some discussions across the river with Salinas Valley, possibly about expanding services, as well as board discussions around tip fees and diversification of revenues, and sharing the expenses of the district with new customers that are separate from the member agencies. And so it was quite an active period from a financial guidance point of view, the early 2000s and into the remainder of that decade. I think the record shows that in October of 2004, there was an initial writing of some guiding principles that the board developed of how the district would move forward and improve some sustainability around its financial matters and the disposal rates. And there was a period of time in the mid 2000s when the disposal rate was held constant for 5 or 6 years, and these discussions about how to improve the business at the district and better manage rates to lower rate increases. Those discussions were active and were guiding staff to develop a strategic plan, and which was accomplished, and it had several dozen elements to it. And the implementation of those began there in the 2007 to 2009 period. And by 2015, the significant items had been attained. And that involved having the district-wide RFP, involved long-term contracts with regional parties in Santa Cruz, as well as a long-term or medium-term contract with Green Waste out of San Jose, and developing the truck yard as a source of cost control, which does translate to controlling rates that are charged to customers, including member agencies. Um, included the update of the material recovery facility to add a single stream processing line in addition to the construction and demolition debris. Those were some of the major items. As you know, the market conditions for the MRF really turned out well for the district. The plan was for the MRF to have capabilities to process single stream recyclables, but at the time of the design and planning, there were no single stream recyclables under the control of the district. That did change at the opening of the MRF, the new MRF, the Waste Management Castroville recycling facility did indicate they were closing down, and so there was a ready change to the ReGen, and that's definitely the most financially preferred process, is to process single stream materials, in part because of the revenues that are gained in selling commodities. This is just the illustration of the tip fee history, and the ReGen has maintained, or predominantly maintained, a low cost on its disposal rate. That's posted at the gate. Not only that, I think what gets lost, or may get lost in highlighting the disposal rate, is the breadth of services that ReGen offers. It's very unique in the solid waste practice to have the variety of services that are present at ReGen available to customers that come to one site. Recycling is done in Monterey County in a big way at ReGen. There's no comparison on that. You've got the compost facility, you've got the two processing lines at the MRF, you've got the Last Chance Mercantile, and our partnership with the Veterans Transition Center. HHW is active and handles a lot of materials, so it's quite an asset that the ReGen has here at this facility.
Yeah, this is Kim,
Sure.
can I stop you for a second?
Sure.
I'm assuming you're looking at the regional tip fee growth when you're talking about this, in terms of what we offer. So are you comparing us to the city of Santa Cruz, the Buena Vista landfill, all of those? Are you saying that they don't offer the same services that we do?
Yes, the breadth of services and more the magnitude as well. The amount, the quantity of materials that are handled at ReGen, it truly is a regional site. So yeah, City of Santa Cruz does have their own single stream MRF, and they do have landfill and some other services. It's isolated to really just the quantities of the city. Buena Vista landfill is mainly a landfill. There is some yard debris vegetation recovery Keith Day's assisting on, but the composting occurs over here and add other Keith Day facilities. So yeah, it's really kind of a combination of the breadth and the quantity.
I just want to add a couple other items, some items that really stand out, John Smith Road, landfill is still seeking expansion. We don't know when that's gonna happen. We're receiving one from them as well. With the guy mentioned one of this landfill, they're near capacity at some point in the very near future as well. And so, as you can tell, some of the smaller agencies are starting to appeal to their capacity. And they're gonna be seeking other agencies to support their endeavor, or this material be shipped off to who knows where, in some deal to try to manage waste. So if we don't manage what we're doing very well, this will run into a situation where we're either looking for more expansion, or we're looking for how do we resort to plan B to deliver material somewhere else for processing. We're nowhere near that, but we are starting to see folks around us being near that, and I think that's something for us to continue to monitor as we move forward with our operations.
So, from your comments that the smaller landfills are closing or will close in the near future, and that the larger landfills might just expand. So a contraction in the number of landfills.
I think, like John Smith, landfill, for instance, they're really looking and hearing the community right now. Does the community want to allow an expansion? Or do they not want an expansion? So people are making critical decisions right now that may impact the fees that they're paying for disposal. When you have a landfill in your county, you're not paying for transportation, you're not paying for additional costs for the operating needs of the community, but you're starting to see some having to make decisions on, do we expand? If Buena Vista or John Smith landfill expands, they'll get 50 years of life. Right now, they're within their last 15 years of life, and they're making a decision on, do we want an expansion? Do we want a transfer station to transport materials out of the county and somewhere else? So they're trying to make a decision right now on, do they want to continue to be in this industry, and do they want that in their county as well?
There is no legislative requirement for this district to take other people's,
There is none.
so there's no requirement.
Yeah, we will continue to assess and monitor the needs of our area based on what we're doing and trying to complete and get accomplished in our facility.
My question to refer, I'm thinking of another industry totally separate, where due to advances in regulations, tightening environmental regulations actually drove a consolidation. So the number of operators shrunk dramatically in the state. And I'm just wondering if in the future it'll become there'll be more regulation, becoming more difficult to operate landfills. And
I
the
would
smaller
say yes.
mom and pop landfills, if you will, they'll just go away.
Yeah, I think they're definitely being challenged with compliance and regulatory items that continue to be brought through legislation. So we'll continue to monitor. We're always abreast of everything that's coming down the pipeline. We have a very good relationship with Cal Recycle, which in turn has a good relationship with the federal bodies that are overseeing and governing, like the EPA, of what we're doing environmentally. So I think we're in a good position, but we have to continue to monitor what's going on around us, and taking those values to make our decisions here locally.
One of the in the early years of Millennium, the district had virtually no outside income other than tip fees. And so every time we needed some money, we just raised it. It left unchecked. The last load of stuff would come to the state, be about $8 million per truckload. Tip fee. So we encourage the board work with staff to broaden the products that we have and what we need to do to get those things. One of the most important metrics is what used to be when we talk about the percentage of revenue that's coming from tip fees versus everything else. That's a very important metric. It used to be 95.5, now it's something better, a lot better, 40% or something like that.
Yeah.
64.
This year, they've been running about 70 to 75.
Outside of tip fee? The
Outside,
tip fee is what percentage of our total
yeah,
revenue?
about 70
Yeah,
to 70.
I've got some slides on that. I'll show you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. This, you know.
Yeah, can you go to the current slide that you're on right now? You're still on the cover page, just so we can.
Oh, really? It's not, I'm sorry, it's out, I've been flipping slides on my side. Let me see what's going on here.
Or you can just reference the page you're on and continue.
You're not seeing any change in the slides?
No,
No,
No, just the first page.
Well,
I'm sorry about that. Let me,
yeah, if you could just reference the page you're on, Guy, I think that would be,
No one from the public.
no one,
if you can just reference the page you're on.
page 6. Well, I got a new slide that I need to show you, so we gotta resolve this. So let me go in and out of the share screen.
Felipe, the John Smith Road, so they have the ability to expand?
Yes, they do.
So why would?
Not yet, they don't, and if I can give a little.
They have the ability to expand, they do. So
there's
they're
the land.
They
They
have
have
a
the
land.
land, they have the land, they have everything they need to do it if they chose to do it, is whether the oversight wants to push forward after hearing the community. The community kind of says, we kind of like it not having it, so. It's yet to be decided whether they are or they ain't, but they do have the ability to pursue.
Guy, if you want to stop sharing your screen, I can try and pull it up.
I'm not sure you have the latest version, Ida.
Okay.
Do you have the one that I sent this morning?
This morning, yes.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. So, you bring up John Smith landfill. This represents a tale of two landfills. ReGen in this story in the white paper is a story of diversification of revenue sources and services. Actually in the opposite order, with the services come the revenues. That diversification and alignment with third-party specialty contracts like composting, like the sand mining by Don Chapin and the aggregate recycling by Don Chapin. The VTC, third-party contract, specialty service, a combination of the district diversifying services that it does well and allowing third parties who do a service better than the district to have those delivered by contract. That's all led to a sharing of expenses with other customers. John Smith Road landfill is in a circumstance where you can go to the rate sheet there on slide 6. John Smith Road is exploring an expansion, but because they have not been approved for one, and the remaining capacity has fallen below 15 years, the JPA had to restrict disposal to only San Benito County waste origins. that is the reason why ReGen is receiving materials from Morgan Hill and Gilroy. Is because those jurisdictions, those municipalities were locked out of going to John Smith Road when this remaining capacity fell below 15 years. That meant about a 70 to 80% reduction in the disposal quantity going to the landfill. The expenses didn't change for the landfill, but there's 70 to 80% less tonnage to accrue a disposal rate for paying for those expenses. That's the huge financial challenge that San Benito County JPA is facing at this time. It's definitely the opposite end of the spectrum from the ReGen's history as shown here. And shown on the next slide. If you could advance. So this slide has 2 rows with 3 columns in each row. The top three, the top row and the 3 columns in the top row are in a period of time when before and during the discussions that the board and staff were having around how to improve the financial conditions at ReGen. The bottom row and those the 3 columns of the years 2010, 15, and 17, those are years where the elements of the plan that was developed by the board and staff to address financial aspects has already is in progress and occurring. And the metrics here show the improvement that was made. If you can go to the next slide, please. So the little blue rectangles are the average daily disposal. Diversifying sources of waste and bringing in other non-member agencies in the regional contracts, affected a change in the quantity of waste shown by the blue rectangles, which is the average daily disposal amount. So it went from 700 tons a day in 2000 to 1,700 tons a day in 2017. You can see the growth in the tip fee and the orange square there. The revenues collected per ton. You can see how in the period of 2000 to 2007, that was a period where the plans were being discussed and prepared, but nothing really implemented. The regional contracts started in 2007. So
interrupt you just for a second. Why do we stop at 2017? Why don't we bring it more to the present?
I can do that in an updated version. I have not was not able to complete that in the time that I had for this.
Okay.
Could I ask, What's the difference between the tip fee and the revenues per ton? Aren't they the same? The revenues, right?
No, um, they are the same only for that unit of disposal. So the revenues collected per ton is all revenues together. So it's not the disposal fee, which is just that ton of waste and the cost of that ton. But we're going to move to what Leo referenced earlier, which was a change in reliance on disposal fee only. So for revenues collected per ton, you see during the 2000 to 2007 period, there was a greater reliance on disposal to collect the higher amount of revenues to cover the expenses that were being incurred. That began to change after 2007 as various elements of the strategic plan were implemented, and it shows a good decrease from that peak at $96 a ton. Next slide, please.
Hey, Guy, just for a
Yeah,
moment,
sorry.
on that last slide, on the last column, you're using yellow lettering. Just for, if you're gonna use this chart in the future, you can use a darker color than yellow for the last column.
Yeah,
4.
I'll try to get that changed to purple or something like that.
Thank you.
If you want to stop that video, Ida, see if I can bring up the slide that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I have one other question real quick. Other than maybe expanding the year information to bring past 2017, are there any other changes that you know about that were gonna be included in this white paper?
No, that'll completing the financial, bringing that up to date, it would be the only change. Are you able to see a pie chart?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is from the Eide Bailey audit that was just completed for representing the fiscal year ending June 30, 2022. It's showing disposal fees representing 64% of the revenue. Compare that to the fiscal year ending June 30, 2009. The disposal fees represented 76%. So that illustrates a change over that time period for a lower reliance on disposal fees for revenues. And that's really what I wanted to cover today, and appreciate the questions and answers during the presentation.
When you go back in time, you mentioned it briefly at the very beginning, there was about a period of 4 or 5 years when we purposely held it, if the the same, never didn't change it. And it was during the time when we were, renegotiating the hauling contract. And so we didn't want to make any changes because it affected the bids. So we consciously held the tip fee down, which that obviously affected our earnings. During that time, so it's kind of a hiccup, right, in that time frame from, 2015 to 2018, something like that.
Yeah, it looks like it was between maybe 97 and 2004.
You might make a note on there, or just a note on that page where you talk about the annual revenues. Just highlight it, just give it a reason why nothing's changed, or the weird stuff happens with the revenues during that period of time when we did not change the 50.
Yeah, I think Leo wants to see the milestones maybe that occurred in that year that could have impacted.
Yeah.
The change guy. You know, even when we go into 22, we picked up waste connection tons. Those are attributes of how the linear is changing. But it does its purpose. I like the pie chart.
Okay,
Is there anything from this committee that you would like else in that, white paper? I think we've done a really good job from being very, very general to very direct to what we're doing here. I think that was the ask of the board. Is there any other final comments? Because we'd like to deliver this item as well.
Is there any significant revenue associated with the last chance that when it doesn't appear here?
No,
Not that much. Okay,
we don't get any revenue from the last chance. It is a zero lease agreement that we have with Veterans Transition Center. And it was due to the amount of revenue reduction associated with the last chance mercantile. So it is a win for us. It is a zero lease agreement.
right, it was an expense avoidance. It was
Yeah.
on the order of 600 to 700,000 annual expense that was being avoided. That wasn't being captured by revenues at last chance.
And that might be another milestone item in that year of when you're looking at revenue and revenue changes of why you see an influx. And that was a critical decision made at one point to say, we're no longer gonna be accountable for that revenue reduction that was impacting the organization. Thank you, Guy, for all the work put into the history and developing what we have up to this point. We're happy to get to the end product.
Yeah,
I
I
think
I also wanted to echo those thanks to Guy and anyone else on staff that helped put this together. I'm still learning what the district is all about and what is the mindset of management and board members. One thing in particular, I'm glad that you mentioned the 2007 guiding principles. And I hope that that document, it's only 2 pages,
To be included.
is included. And I'd like to see the board review that. I mean, it's granted, it's only been 16 years, but maybe it's time
Yeah.
for the board to go through and just test, are we still in alignment?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
duly noted. I will include that and concur with the suggestion.
One last thing, I just thought it was really interesting looking at these, on page 7, your tables, and looking at the staffing and how that has changed, gone up and then gone down, and I'm just wondering about sort of like the philosophy of that and what's influenced that change, because obviously your expenses can greatly change with more employees, and so, I think that's a factor to.
So we're going for
explain.
us. So we went from 130 employees down to 100 in a pretty short period of time. So
That was a reduction.
Mm,
So I
And-
think
and-
we'll kind of paint that story of
yeah,
up and down
yeah,
on
There's-
staff as well.
there's some innovation in processing recyclables that has accomplished some of that. Also the third-party contracts relieved the district of staff and some expenses. So there's a multiple contributions to that history.
Yeah, good, thank you, guys.
Yeah, I'd like to just one. I'd like to just say thank you to Director Alaska. He was instrumental in the history of making these changes. It was a dynamic duo with Director Alaska and Director Bales in those years. So thank you.
No problemo.
Thank you very much for the service that you provided to not only your own community, but everybody else's as well, and then being a pillar of our organization as well. So we appreciate your service.
One
Thank you very
other
much.
kind of associated with that is the fact that the technical advisory committee has done such a great job in terms of bringing together the various communities that we serve. Joey, you've done a good job in your report on it, but I'm concerned about Mike is retiring at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And somehow, and he's played a huge role in this.
Yeah.
You know, just something to think about.
Yes, we've had some nominations within the technical advisory committee to include a new chair, Ted Tarafa from the city of Monterey, who's been serving as the vice chair and has also served as a chair of a subcommittee. So he's done quite a bit of work, and we also have two vice chairs from the city of Seaside and the city of Pacific Grove. George first and Jen, and then we think that they're both rising leaders in that space, and feel that their guidance and the participation of the haulers will continue to lead us. And we're lucky to have Mike with us for a few more months, so if he's not leading the committee, we'll take the lead and get.
I felt guilty. I couldn't keep him busy enough at his day job. He had probably put a lot of effort in this activity.
Yeah.
So.
He's been instrumental.
Yeah, we couldn't replace them one for one, so we look for additional alternatives to make sure that we can keep it alive and moving forward. So we're excited that we can do that and continue that with, Mike's still been influential on that transition to make sure that we got the right people asking the right types of questions. And he continues to nourish the development of the folks coming into line. So we're excited about that. Thank you for the acknowledgement.
And until we got the new hauling contract, when we were getting the new hauling contract, despite how this group got, because they were formed.
Correct, yeah.
And then when it was all done, we just kept on, and then they sort of expanded other kinds of activities.
Right.
So it really, it was an accidental formation, didn't intend to be permanent, but that was.
Yeah, it's been nice. One of the things that we're undertaking as a technical advisory committee is coming up with some additional monitoring of the contracts in terms of compliance, the green waste contracts specifically, and making sure that staff at the city have the tools that they need to be able to review and monitor the activities that green waste is doing in a simpler format. And so we're working with HF&H, the contractors to be able to make sure that everyone's up to speed, and also that the hauler is given ample notice if there's anything that they need to address before the next time the contract comes up.
HF Yeoman Service.
Oh, I know. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they continue to be very good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Guy.
other than saying bye, that's all I got. Anybody else have a comment?
I do. I have a few general manager comments I'd like to introduce. I had the opportunity to meet with Peter McKee and Leo himself to do an introduction and get up to speed and start laying some of what we do there. We asked some fundamental questions and general questions around our organization. So it was a nice introduction, so I'm looking forward to having Peter, join our board in the near future. We also, met with Nick Becker, who is gonna be Mike Nickham's replacement, and getting an opportunity to, share what we're doing. He did commit to coming out and doing a tour at some point, so he'll schedule that in the near future. I also wanted to say thank you to all the board members, all the employees that attended our holiday dinner. If you didn't make it, we hope that you can join us next year. It was a great time. Thank you to the communications team. I also wanted to thank everybody for their contributions. We did an employee fundraiser of gift baskets. It was part of our raffling items, but the donations and contributions are all going to be donated to a charitable organization. So the social committee will be meeting on Thursday to debrief the event and select the charitable organizations that will be contributing. Last year we raised $3,295. This year we raised $3,350, just surpassing last year's number. So we're very excited about that. And thanks for all the support. I think this is a very humbling moment for the organization where we see our employees highly engaged in one another, and they want to continue to grow, and they've demonstrated that through their work abilities here at work, and then to see them in an environment where they get along and had fun and danced and really enjoyed the company of one another outside of being here at work. So a big appreciation, not only from staff, but all the frontline workforce. They were all very excited about and appreciate the efforts that we put forward to entertain their service that they provide to the community year round, you know, Monday through Saturday. And it is very well appreciated. We did have a meeting with ZBEST, which is Green Waste Recovery around ADC. We identified some items that were stipulated in the agreement, and we think we course corrected them. And we'll be reporting back on the outcomes and findings of how that's working for everyone. The results of the HHW grants were released, but they gave out the awards by a numerical number, so they didn't identify the agency. So we're trying to figure out what numerical number we were and to see if we were awarded an agreement. So we may know next week sometime. Hopefully by the next finance committee, we'll know if we were able to achieve a $50,000 grant award that would help HHW with some shelving, some signage, and also the community with the battery collection program that we've had, but it's kind of died out, and we continue to see battery fires. So this was an opportunity to reinvest into our battery program. Still looking forward to the February board workshop. You know, we want to talk about feasibility study results. We want to talk about the 21 kV line, which is the distribution of energy across to our neighbor, the white paper, and then some upcoming labor negotiations that will be coming forward. We have a potential hauler from San Miguel area, which is South County, for recycled material. I think it's 300
times
100 tons a month, which is about 25 operating minutes a day for us. So we will see something come to the board on processing more recycling. And I think transportation, and they're right in the middle of the two facilities, so they're looking to see if we would entertain that very, very nominal number of recycling tons that we can process here. We're preparing for labor negotiations as well, and we are in the initial stages of starting to prepare for it. So you'll start hearing more about this year's labor negotiations, which includes 2 units this year. 3? 2.
We're not doing management.
Well, oh yeah, it is.
They're not represented.
Final thing that we had a tour this week that was very inspiring for staff. We had Rancho Cielo students come in and do a tour. That was 20
students, 5 staff, yeah.
20 students, 5 staff came in. They did the tour of the facility, but in turn, they also presented their project work that they performed that they received an award on, and their ingenuity, what they're doing there. And one of the big deliverables that we think we can continue the partnership is that they're developing young professionals into some of the fields that we desire here. Diesel mechanics, big mechanic work, welding. A lot of auto body folks in there. And a lot of engineering concepts that they're working on through their apprenticeships and getting their credits for school. It was a great visitation. It was extremely exciting. And we got to hear a lot from the students. So we want to continue to better educate and set foundations for this organization to at least stimulate some of the folks that live in our area that there are very good jobs here available and they're right in their backyard. And so we were excited to entertain Rancho Cielo and hear many things exciting things that they're working on. And those are all my comments. One last item. I attended the Marina Odor Study meeting last night and more to come on the Marina Odor Study. In short, I believe we took the best position we could take, and that's continuing to be a partner, knowing what we can do here to mitigate odor, and we'll continue to do that as professionals. Again, as I stated last night, you know, under the federal, state, regional, local, we're in compliance with all the regulations, but we still want to be part of the solution if we are a generator of odor, and we want to do the best we can handle. We'll look at times of drop off. We'll look at what's coming in. Do we want to continue to accept that? There were some items that we discontinued because they were high odorous. So I think there's a lot to continue to learn and digest, and what are the next steps that we want to continue and the paths that we're on. Some of the items that we discussed last night were, you know, the conversion of windrow composting into a cassette in the near future. You know, that is a one of the biggest items out of all the task lists that we can contribute, and it was already had been scheduled. So we're excited that it would come, you know, some things right at the right time. Thank you. Thank you.
I had appreciated tour of the J van for my daughter and her husband were down from Seattle. And they took a tour with Burp and stuff, and they were, both of them were engineers, so they kind of a lot out of it. Yeah, they thought that was pretty good stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And the timing of the tour, I thought was, I don't know if you did this on purpose, it was great. You go over there at like, you know, they don't lunch at 11 to 12, right? Like you get there 10:30, you get a chance to see how things operated, but at 11 o'clock, they shut down for lunch, so at least you can hear yourself over there, which is kind of nice. You know? If you did that on purpose, it really works.
That's it.
No, I think we stay for that. Okay, we're good. Thank you very much.